Hello, everyone. Hopefully, everyone's able to hear me. I know there might be a few people still getting connected to the audio, and I'll be helping out with that in just a minute. But I just wanted to welcome everyone to our webinar today. I'm Marcus Penny from the National Youth Leadership Council. We are very excited to be partnering with Tom Kriegelstein from Student Launcher today to bring you this webinar, 6 Secrets to Successfully Fundraise for Your School Using Social Media. Just a little bit about Tom before he gets started. Tom is, again, he's from Student Launcher. He's an internationally recognized speaker, writer, and consultant on creating community, increasing student engagement, and fostering student retention. He has worked with over 300 institutions around the United States and the world, including the University of Wisconsin-Madison, United States Military, and Disney. From successful internet entrepreneur at 21 to 3-time Campus Speaker of the Year, by the age of 28, Tom has walked the walk and talked the talk, certainly. As the founder of SwiftKick and Student Launcher, Tom has dedicated his life to helping students discover their passion through co-curricular activities. His facilitation style wraps masterful storytelling. It wraps the audience into a whirlwind of self-discovery that continues long after the program has ended, blending together his technical aptitude with his masterful storytelling. Audiences all over the globe have been inspired and motivated by Tom. From the first moment, you will see why he is the premier educator on student engagement. So I'm very glad to introduce Tom Kriegelstein. Take it away.
All right. Marcus, I hope you can hear me. Everyone out there, I hope you can hear me and see me at this point. And Marcus, thank you for that introduction. I wish it were all true. No, it actually is, so that's good. The interesting thing, so I'm used to doing a lot of in-person programs and trainings, and so here I am sitting at my desk, staring at my computer, and I know you're out there somewhere in the world looking back at your computer screen. So it's got this awkward moment of like, are you listening? Are you checking your email? Whatever it is, I hope that in the next time we have together here that I can give you some chunks of information that you can take away and use right away. One of the key things I just want to let you know is that throughout the whole program, if you want to ask a question, note that there's a chat section down at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Open that up, type away, ask questions. I'm going to be checking them. I'm happy to answer throughout the whole program. So with that, I know that a lot of you on your screen right now, you probably see this sad cupcake with a big cross through it. And just so you know, I am not anti-cupcakes. I happen to actually love cupcakes. I'm just anti-bake sales. And I'll get to that in just a moment. And I'm on a mission to rid the world of bake sales. But let me pause on that for a moment. And first, I know Marcus gave you a quick intro, but I just want to share really briefly about myself and why I get this opportunity to be with all of you virtually today. Starting with the fact that in 1980, I was born on a farm in Lawrence, Michigan. For anyone who is from Michigan, it's right there on the opposite side of Detroit. And on this farm, I was born for the price of a pig. They literally traded a pig to a midwife to have me birthed on that farm. That is the epic start of my life. From there, my family moved outside of Chicago, where I ended up growing up the rest of my childhood at, and went to college at a place called Aurora University. However, in high school, I was not a very good student. I was told pretty early on that I wasn't allowed to go into the advanced classes, and I took the fact that I was a C student to heart, and I lived it and breathed it every single day, all the way through till graduation. So even though I had aspirations to apply to great schools, I ended up going to a community college that was actually closer to my home than my high school was. And the show community, I feel like they wrote several of the themes based on my experience, even though there's a lot of false stuff in there too. And but there are other pieces I'm like, I swear someone on that writing staff was in my class, because there were like quintessential moments that happened to me. And then, like I said, after I graduated, I didn't go to the master schools. I went to Aurora University, which is outside of Chicago. It is great because my mom taught there, so I got free education. Can't complain. Uh, and then as I was in, and then I started to get involved on campus. And the first thing I got involved with, Student Activities Program Board, and then I got involved in the Honor Society, and then I got involved in the student government. And all of a sudden, my love for learning came back, and I became a great student again, and I started getting A's, and then more A's, and then more A's, and it kept growing and growing and growing, eventually to the point where I was exceeding at school. And then I had time to actually do things outside of school that I was excited about. Like, for example, when I was a junior in college, I started this online retail business selling old edition textbooks, the same textbook that students throw away every single semester. I would take those, buy them from them, sell them online, and by my senior year, grew it to $1.5 million in sales. It was an amazing, awesome business to be a part of. And then all of a sudden, all the textbook stores that I was contracted with decided and realized that they could be doing it themselves online. So they basically cut all my contracts. That was the end of that business. But the good news was I was still academically successful. I won this national award, got to give the graduation speech for my school, which was awesome. And that also led into a career into doing leadership training programs, because after I won the academic award, they traveled me around the state of Illinois, and one of the schools I spoke at, they handed me an honorarium for $50. And like, for doing a graduation speech for them. I'm like, you pay people to do this? And the light bulb sort of hit that I was super passionate about student leadership. I loved doing trainings for other students, so why not combine the two together and create a career out of it? And that's what led to me launching Swift Kick, which is our student leadership training and consulting business. And then as where I'm at today is 7 years, 250 some schools, and work with over 10,000 plus student leaders. And so it's been an exciting journey for me to be a part of. And what's interesting throughout the whole thing is the same story came up over and over and over again. It was almost like someone was planting these in these student audiences, because what would happen is these students would come up with these great ideas. They would have such awesome ideas for events, for leadership conferences, for service learning projects, for a general scholarship that they wanted to do on campus, or to give to a local charity. The students had these amazing ideas, and then when it came to fundraising, every idea was this old school, outdated system. And I remember back when I was in college, I wanted to do a 2-day leadership conference, and the dean was super excited about it, and so she said, great, put together this proposal. So I spent some time, filled up the proposal, and came back to her about a week later, and she's going through it, and she's reading it, and she's reading it, and she's like, oh, this is great, this is great. And then she gets to the funding page, and I know some of you have been here before, but she gets that funding page, she looks at the number at the bottom of the page, and she goes, oh, we can't do that. We can't afford $5,000 for a 2-day leadership conference. But she says, but wait, there's ways you can fundraise that will help you raise the money if you want. And she hands me this booklet that's filled with about 50 different pages of ideas that students can fundraise. And the ideas, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard before, are bake sales, happy hours, letter writing campaigns. They even suggested a kissing booth on campus, which let's not go there. Okay, let's leave that off to the side for a moment. But I couldn't believe that I was going to have to spend 3 months to fundraise for a 2-day activity. And out of everything I was doing, I just didn't have time. And that story of not having enough time to fundraise, but being super excited about an idea, is replicated over and over and over again. And at the exact same time, there was this whole world of social media starting to grow in terms of online fundraising tools. And I'm like, what happens if we took the passion of students and combined it with the online social media activity that's happening, so we can really harness what it would be like to help students spend less time fundraising and more time doing. And that's eventually what led to us launching a campaign called Bye Bye Bake Sales. We're on a mission to eliminate bake sales from the face of the earth. Again, I love cupcakes. I just don't like bake sales. And I know some of you like to sit behind bake sales the entire day and collect quarters and walk away with $150, and that's fine. Keep doing that. I'm interested in helping you spend an hour to get $10,000 or $5,000 using social media. And that's why we also created a tool called Student Launcher. And put simply, it's an online fundraising and sponsorship platform for student projects so students can spend less time fundraising great things and more time doing those great things. And that's what leads us into the 6 secrets of online fundraising success. And so here's, I'm going to walk through these 6 steps, but I also am going to ask you from time to time to put some answers into the chat box. So as I ask the question, go ahead and move over that chat box, type in your answers so that we can interact, and we're just going to see what the group response is. So let's move to the first step. And the first step is pick your weapon. What's interesting now over the past 5 years or so is that online fundraising platforms across the internet have exploded. There is, it's almost turned into the Baskin-Robbins of fundraising, where there's 31 different flavors, and it's really up to you to decide which flavor works best based on what you're trying to fundraise for. And some may work perfectly for you, while others won't work at all for you. And so the 3 main ones that I want to talk about today, some of them you probably have heard of, so Kickstarter and Indiegogo being the 2 largest ones out there. And then I'm going to add also in here Student Launcher, which isn't as large as Kickstarter, Indiegogo. However, it's our platform, so I'm going to use it as an example to help you understand. So going back to the 31 flavors of Baskin-Robbins and each one having a different style, when you're picking your weapon, it's key to pay attention to which one's going to work best for what you're trying to fundraise for. So for example, Kickstarter is great for the arts. If you're trying to create a tangible physical product, like a CD, a movie, a poster, a video, a music label, any kind of electronic gadget, if you're trying to create a physical, tangible product, Kickstarter is great for you. And then there's Indiegogo. Indiegogo can be used for anything and everything. Anything from, I want to create a movie CD, to I'm trying to get to a leadership conference, to I broke my leg and I don't have health insurance, mom won't pay for it, someone help me out. And then lastly, Student Launcher is only and specifically used for students. We build deep integration with the schools so that only schools and students can put their projects up there. And you have to be officially recognized through the school to be able to post your project. Now, each one also has a specific fee attached to it, and they vary across the board. On average, they tend to go from 10% down to about 3%, because that's where credit card fees come in. But Kickstarter will take about 10%, Indiegogo will take 7 to 9%, and Student Launcher will take 8%. Now, within each one of those fees, like I said, you're going to have a 3% credit card processing fee that will come out, and then the rest of it is to keep the lights on for those different organizations. So that's step number 1. Then let's move into step number 2, which is, I'm sorry, not step number 2, but first I want to show you that each one of these is going to give you also a really beautiful landing page. In case you've never tried it before, they give you this great templated web page that you get to, that becomes the home for your fundraiser. So they'll have a personalized project page that will have a picture for you or a video. There's going to be some instant social sharing activity that you can do. They'll give you a fundraising success dashboard that says, like, here are the 6 steps to help you fundraise for your project, and then you can track it over time. And then lastly, they give you this widget or a stats dashboard that allows you to share your project across the web, whether you have a blog or a personal website. So that's step 1, is to pick your weapon and know that they're going to have all roughly the same set of skills and tools for you to utilize. Now let's move to step number 2, and this is where I need some interaction from you all out there. So open up the chat box for a second. And in step number 2, notice that I have 2 projects on the screen right now, Project A and Project B. Both of these were real projects that were posted on Student Launcher. However, one ended up exceeding its fundraising goal, and the other one didn't exceed its fundraising goal, in fact, fell short. The challenge or the question for all of you is, which project, A or B, do you think raised more money, and then why did it raise more money? I'm just going to give you 15 seconds to type your answer into the chat box. And let's just see what some of the participants come up with here. Again, the question is Project A or Project B? Which one do you think at the end of the fundraise raised more money? And then why do you think it was? So I'm going to give a shout out to Megan because she was the first one in there. So Megan says Project B because there was a specific goal. Setna, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. She said Project B because there was more specific. Project B, and then Pam, help sounds weak. Jennifer, Project B. Emily, Project B because it's tangible goal. So you all almost, I think, so everyone's saying Project B so far. And if you're still typing, that's fine. I understand. And I'm just going to move forward and give you the answer. At the end of the fundraise, here's what happened. Where's the drum roll? No, there's no drum roll. Okay. The ended up being that Project A raised $900 and Project B raised $1,625. And here's why. And several of you hit it on it. Megan was talking about it. Pam, you were talking about it. Emily, you mentioned it as well. But step number 2 is to make it tangible. At the end of the day, both of these projects, the end goal is both of these are going to hand a check to the local food bank to help homeless people with whatever they need. It's not like as a student or a student group or a department or a class that I'm going to go buy 500 meals and then hand that to the homeless shelter. But instead, I'm going to give the check. They both give the check. But what we've discovered is that donors want to know how their money is being used. And so if I give you $1, I want to know that that $1 is going to do X. And the more tangible I can make that X, the more comfortable I am going to feel giving money. Because now, instead of just giving $1 to the homeless shelter, now I bought one meal for one homeless person, or I bought one breakfast for one homeless person. So step number 2 is to make it tangible. Which brings us to step number 3, is build your story. So in step number 3, let me go back. Good job to all of you. Every single one of you said B, so nice work on that. Applause all around. So now step number 3 is build your story. And in building your story, you have the choice between, oftentimes, you have the choice between putting up a picture, which is pretty self-explanatory, or a video. And when we're working with student groups and we say, oh, you can put up a video, there's almost like this excited panic that comes into their eyes because they're not sure about what they should be doing with this video, because sometimes people think they need to bring Steven Spielberg in, they need to set up perfect lighting and perfect sound, and then eventually they'll have the best video possible, especially because on Kickstarter, some people who are trying to create a $1 million production or film, they also have the ability to have these amazing crews around them to create an amazing video. But at the other end, you can also just pick up a cell phone camera and start recording, and then that can become your video. And I want to show you an example of a video that we did recently when Hurricane Sandy hit here in the Northeast. A lot of student groups across the country emailed us and said, hey, Tom, we want to help out. Can we use Student Launcher as a platform? So we ended up just giving our platform for free, waiving all the fees, and any project that would go up would get a discount, or would be able to just raise money directly that would go directly to the relief efforts of Hurricane Sandy. And here's a video we created that I want to show all of you, and hopefully you can hear the audio. I'm going to switch over and just listen to this. And then at the end of it, in the comment section, the question is, how long do you think it took us to create this video? Here it is. All right, so I should be back in just a moment in the audio here. I think it's coming back on. Wait for it. There it is. Okay, so here's the question again. You just watched that video. In the comments or in the chat box, how long do you think it took us to create that video? Just put in how much time you think. I'll give you 10 seconds. Stepno wins for the first answer at 30 to 60 seconds. Pam coming in a close second with 15. All right, so we're hovering around 30, 60 minutes. I see an hour. Emily's calling less than an hour. So you're all in this roughly under an hour. So the answer is it took us 15 minutes to create the video. And I want to give you the tool that we use to create a super simple video, and it's called Animoto. It's animoto.com is the website. Yeah, that's right. So good job, Pam. You win. I would send you a virtual hug right now or a high five. Here it comes. Bam. Animoto.com is the site. It is free. They have a paid version. But the key is that what they do is all you need to do is drop your pictures in there, choose your music, and it's going to sync everything up so that it looks like it's professionally done. It's a great tool. It's free. Go for it. Try it out. That's what helped us to create a really fast, quick video. So now part of that story, building your story, which is step number 2, step number 3, is the other part of building your story is this description. And oftentimes you'll see several pieces of text within an online fundraising page. And the 3 questions that they're really trying to get you to answer are these 3 questions right here. What is the outcome? Why does the project matter? And what are you going to do with the money? And the most important of these 3 is that middle one. Why does the project matter? The donor has to feel your emotional connection to that project. That's what's really going to get them to buy in. And so, for example, I just want to show you some of on Student Launcher, what some of the projects people did. So this person was raising money for a study abroad trip in London. And just towards the bottom, it's a small window of opportunity to even greater opportunities that allow students to succeed in future endeavors. It's a journey that will not only allow me to treasure some of the world's most invigorating places, but a chance to embrace and learn from all cultures. So now we're starting to get into that why. And here's another one. This one is a really unfortunate story where there was a fraternity brother who unexpectedly passed away, and his family didn't have money to buy tombstones. So they used Student Launcher to raise money, and you can see in this, why does this project matter, that the emotional connection that they had to it. I want to share one more. This is related to Hurricane Sandy. But the very last line is the key. Working on the relief efforts for Hurricane Sandy will be a major accomplishment that they'll always remember. Linking a national tragedy to the students' experience in school becomes this moment that they'll remember forever. Which brings me then back to step number 3, and the last and final part. So we have the video or the picture, we have the story, the why does this project matter, and then the last part is this incentives piece. Oftentimes, a lot of these projects will include the option to give an incentive to donors based on how much they're willing to pledge, whether it be $10, $25, $50, $100, or $200. And I want to give you some examples of what students have given as incentives to projects on Student Launcher to give you an idea. They've given a signed photo from the event. They've sent postcards to the donors. They did a thank you video on Facebook, Twitter, blog. They gave out school swag, whether it be T-shirts, whatnot, or stuff from the event, or they did a thank you dinner, or some even went over to the person's house and mowed their lawn or cooked their dinner. And notice that there's a big difference in terms of time. It takes 15 seconds to post a message on Facebook or Twitter, but to mow someone's lawn is going to take a lot more time. So when you're thinking about donor incentives, make sure that the amount of time you're willing to give to something matches the actual amount. So in this case, mowing someone's lawn would probably be only if they give $200 or more, because then you're willing to go over and cook them dinner or do something. But if they just give $10 or $15 or $20, which, by the way, would take you a lot of cupcakes to get $20, but this, they give $20 because it's on their credit card, it's done, then it takes 15 seconds to post a thank you on Facebook. And that's part of building your story. So then that brings us to step number 4. Can I just get in the comments really quickly? Are you guys with me? Just a thumbs up, or if you have questions before I dig into step number 4. I know there's some audio issues. I know that Marcus is working on that. Thanks, Pam. Pam's still with me with the smiley face. Cool. Good to see. Good to see. Double thumbs up. Bonus points. Okay, good. So let's move on to step number 4. So we've chosen the weapon. We've created the story. And now we want to go tell our story, AKA we need to get it out there so that people will donate. And here is the steps. I'm going to give you the 4 steps and how to tell your story, and then I'll go through them. So step number 1 is divide and conquer. Step number 2, personalize, 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 the follow-up, and the final plea. These are the 4 keys to getting your story out there. And here's how it works. And know that they're going to give you these slides afterwards, and I'll give you my email. So if you're jotting down notes and you miss something, you'll be able to come back to it. Here's what it would look like in action to tell your story. Step number 1 is divide and conquer. Know that if I go to my mom and I say, "Hey, Mom, I'm trying to raise money for an alternative spring break or a leadership conference. Can you help me out?" Your mom, you can send your mom an email and she's going to write back. She's like, "Oh, it's so great to hear from you. How come I only hear from you when you need money? But anyways, I'm super happy to help and support." And then they go and help. Your mom, your dad, your uncle, your brother, your sister, your best friend, your teacher, they are going to donate to your project just because it's you. They don't care necessarily what the project is. I mean, they care that it's important, but it's because it's you and you're asking them, they're going to donate. Those are your HP, your high probability donors. And then there are your low probability donors. Those are the ones that are your second tier, third tier donors that they're probably not going to donate right away. So you don't want to reach out to them you don't want to reach out to them first, because first what you want to do is individually contact all your high probability donors. And why this matters is because mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, they're going to go ahead and donate. So then your step number 3 is then individually contact the low probability donors. They're going to go to the page. They're going to see that 4 people have already contacted or already donated. So there's this thing in psychology called social proof, which means that if the crowd's doing it, it must be okay, so I'll go ahead and do it. Now you've gotten the low probability donors more likely to give some money to your project. And a quick key here, notice in number 2 and number 3, I said individually contact. So often what people want to do is they want to do, "Hey everybody, I'm trying to do this project, can you help support me?" And they'll just spread it out to everyone all at once. And know that is one of the worst ways online to do it. You still have to go back and individually contact people with their name, some personal link, something personal about them. "Hey Mom, sorry I haven't talked to you in a while." And then do the templated, "I'm trying to raise money for this trip, this leadership conference, would you be willing to help out?" Step number 4, the 10-day follow-up. Just because mom didn't donate the first time doesn't mean she doesn't love you, doesn't mean she didn't want to donate. She's busy. So is everyone else in the world. And so it's okay to follow up 10 days later. In fact, it's okay to follow up 20 days later if they still haven't donated. And all you have to do is send them a quick reminder, hey, I got a week left. Would love if you could support the project. And again, going back to individually contact these people, which is step number 6. You have a week left in your project. Let's say you're trying to raise $1,000 or $5,000. No, let's go, just for simplicity, $1,000. And you're trying to raise $1,000, and you have a week left, and you have 800 of it raised. So you need 200 more dollars. The final plea is your secret weapon. It's your chance to go back to all those donors who have already donated and say, hey guys, I only have a week left. I know you already supported me once. I would love to make this project happen. If you'd be willing to give just a little bit more, then I know this project will happen. And that final plea will oftentimes always tip over your project so you hit the 100% funded. And then the last, of course, throughout the whole thing, I'm going to say keep posting on Facebook and Twitter, but I'm going to remind you that that is the least effective way to raise your money. The most effective way is to individually contact people on Facebook and Twitter. So in Facebook, what that looks like is writing on their wall and saying, hey, John, sorry I haven't talked to you, here's what I'm working on, or to send them a message. Or on Twitter, it's their @reply. But again, it's the individual contact that's the most successful. All right, so step number 5. Let me check quickly and any questions on step number 4 before I move into step number 5. I'll give you 5 seconds. All right, we're going to move into step number 5. Great, so Pam, you're asking about corporate sponsors. I'm going to come back to that towards the end. That's a great question, and I'll share with that in just a moment, okay? Thank you. So keep posting those questions if you have them in there, and we'll come back to it. So step number 5, champion your donors. After a donor donates, it's really important to thank them. And sometimes they're okay with the personal thank you. So see on the left side of the screen here, that's an email to this person thanking them for donating. But then sometimes you can do public shout outs if you know this person, whether you thank them on Facebook or you thank them on Twitter. And it does several things. I want to show you the reason why this is important. Number 1 is it makes their donation feel like $1 million donation. And this is really important because if I give money to a school right now, let's say $25, I'll hear something back from the school. No school will ever let that just not respond at all. But I'm not going to feel super excited unless I've given $10,000. But if you give $25,000 to a student group or a student, they're going to really be excited about that $25. And so you want that donor to feel the excitement that you're having. That make their $25 feel like $1 million donation. Thank them in email, thank them on Facebook, thank them on Twitter. Because it does matter a lot to make them feel like $1 million, but also $25 to your project's a big deal, which is step number 2. When they feel like they've given you $1 million, even though they've only given you 25, they're going to start championing your project for you. They're going to start sending it out to their friends and their family and posting on their Facebook account and their Twitter account. And that's a key because then that starts that viral trend that's going. And then step number 3, it keeps the water warm for these donors for 2 major reasons. Because at the end of the year, at the end of the project, when you're ready to do that final plea, it's going to make them feel more likely to donate. But then also, oftentimes, student groups and the student groups you're a part of, you guys fundraise for the same thing every single year. You're oftentimes going to that exact same leadership conference, that you're trying to host the exact same fundraiser for a local charity. It happens year to year to year. And if you made me feel super excited a year ago, I'm going to be excited again to give to your project. And that's why the champion your donors matters. Which brings me to step number 6, which is closing the feedback loop. This is the last and final step of the project. is that after, or sorry, of the process, after the project happens, it's super vital to make sure that you give something back to your donors so that they can see where your money went. And this is key. So here's because it closes the feedback loop. I want to give you an example. Nichols College used Student Launcher to raise money to build houses for victims, hurricane victims in New Orleans. And so they raised money, and then they posted throughout the whole thing, they were posting these status updates, and that they said things like, it's only been 2 days, but it's already been a life-changing experience, puts everything in perspective. Or gratitude cannot truly put into words. Student Launcher made the dream happen for 10 members of Nichols College come true. Pay it forward. Those then we pass on to the donors, and the donors respond back. Just got an email update from Joe about how the herd is doing in NOLA, made me smile, give back. That closes that feedback loop. That makes the donor feel like $1 million. It makes them show exactly where their money is going, so that my $25 isn't just $25. I'm changing people's lives now. I'm getting someone to have, it's only been 2 days, but this is already a life-changing experience. And that's why it's important after a project happens to close that loop. And to give you some examples of closing a loop, here's another one that was a video done by a school afterwards, and it was a thank you video. I'm just going to show you part of it so you can get the idea. Here it is.
20 days ago, 8 students, 2 administrators set out on an airplane to go to New Orleans, help the area affected by Katrina. Well, they weren't traveling alone. You were with them. From $1 donation, $50 donation, $500 donation, you made that trip possible. Whether you used alumni shoes, whether you gave our students checks, whether you came down to the office and handed us whatever change you had in your pocket, whatever money, you helped make the trip possible. 20 days ago that happened. 20 days ago they left. 20 days ago they came back. We've been trying to figure out a way to say thank you. And we've been trying to put together this video, which the students made a while back, actually during the trip. They'd like to say thank you. So without further ado, I give to you the herd who went down to NOLA, and they say thank you.
Hey, hello from New Orleans. It's Matt. I just want to say a special thanks to Alex, Michael, and Elena for your donation. I just want to take a quick second out of the day to thank you. For good enough and the customers that we made.
I'm Andrew Becker. I'm a senior at Nichols College. And I would like to say a very, very, very big thank you to Stacy. Thank you so much.
Hi.
All right, so I'm coming back, pausing that video for just a moment because I just want to give you a taste of what it's like. But you'll see that the big thing there, the first part of it, he's just sitting in front of his computer like I am right now and chatting away. And then the second part takes a little more editing. But the key is that they're showing the donor, me, or any of the other donors, where their money went. And that's what's key. That's what's critical for this step number 6, closing the feedback loop. And I want to show you why some other examples that other schools have done to give you some ideas of ways to close the feedback loop. So mail a postcard from the project, write a blog post, send a big group video or photo, create a photo slide share, and do an in-person telegram. So these are some of the examples that you should see. And Sapna brings up a great question in terms of should all donors, regardless of the level of the donation, receive some kind of thank you? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Knowing that, I know on Student Launcher, the minimum someone can give is $5, and it can go all the way up to whatever they want. But yes, make that donor feel like their $5 donation or their $200 donation is a $1 million donation. Now, notice that if it's a $5 donation, you're not going to go cook them a dinner, but you can definitely send them a personal email to thank them. Pam brings up a great question in terms of what happens if someone doesn't want to be mentioned. I know several of these sites, Student Launcher included, you can do anonymous donations, and when it's done anonymously, whew, tough word, anonymously, then their name doesn't get shared with anyone, and it doesn't show up on the site. So then when you're going to thank them, it's done anonymously, and they're not a part of it. Some sites will say, just let me send my name to the individual, to the team, but don't let it be exposed publicly. That's another way to let you know not to publicly say them. Let's see here. So Pam, I got your question. When you give specific thank yous, what about people that might not want to be mentioned? Okay, so that's what we were just talking about. So these sites do give the ability to say, I want my donation to be public. I want my donation to be totally anonymous. I want my donation to be publicly anonymous, but the team can know about it, and they're in there. That brings me to the end of the 6 secrets for online fundraising. And I just want to quickly recap. And Pam, I didn't forget about your question here, so I'm going to come back to it in just a moment. But I want to give you these 6 steps again, just so you have them. Step number 1, picking your weapon. Step number 2, make it tangible. Step number 3, build your story. Step number 4, tell your story, aka promote it, aka get funding or get donations. Step number 5, champion donors. And step number 6, closing the feedback loop. These are the 6 steps that if you follow these, and each site is going to give you different tools to be able to do it. I know specifically with Student Launcher, we give template examples for each step so that when you're sending out an email, here's the email you should send out, and then you can just click and send. If you're posting a tweet, here's the tweet you should send out. And in terms of closing the feedback loop, we're going to give you suggestions like the ones I just showed you here on ways that you can close the feedback loop with the whole group. And sometimes it's not about necessarily just saying it specifically to that person, but you can say collectively, here's all the things I did at the conference I was at, or the service learning project. Like, for example, when they went down to NOLA, he said it's been the 2nd day, and it's already been a life-changing experience. So those are the 6 steps. And that brings us towards the end of this webinar together. And a couple things. One is I want to answer Pam's question about corporate sponsors. If you have a question, now is a great time to put your question in there. And we have we have several minutes to be able to answer some of these questions. And then we'll go from there, because I got 2 more things I want to share with you. So Pam, in terms of corporate sponsors, each site's going to be will treat them differently. And I can tell you on Student Launcher, we give the ability for a corporate sponsor to be able to have an account and donate and use their logo so that it shows up on the page as part of all the sponsors that are there. We also have partnerships with corporate sponsors across the country. For example, Callaway Golf could say, I want to support student projects in the Northeast that are related to golf. And then we would be able to, as a project gets posted that happens to be a golf team that's trying to go to a national conference or buy new golf clubs, then we link that partnership that we have with the corporate sponsor with that club, so that we, instead of you having to go out and find the money, now the money is there waiting for you. Almost like from the corporate side, it's almost like a Google AdWords for student projects, so that they can say, these are the type of students we're trying to support, and so that when a match comes in, we link up the relationship, and then off they go. Yeah, it's super cool. It's way more exciting when we can have money waiting for the student projects ready for them. All right, great. Any other questions that you have? I'm just going to give you 5 seconds to put a question in before I move on to the last 2 things. All right. So that looks like either I answered all the questions or you're still thinking about some of them. I will give my email at the end so you can ask away there as well. The great question Sapna asked just quickly about matching funds from corporate donors. I know Donors Choose does that. They have matching funds. Sometimes they'll have a corporate sponsor that will match funds against anything that gets donated. It just depends on each site. Each site's going to be different. I just happen to know that Donors Choose definitely does that. Donors Choose, by the way, is donorschoose.org, and they They do great stuff with helping teachers raise money for in-classroom supplies and at public schools. Wonderful organization. Charles Best is the founder. All right, so you note that there's a person with a finger pointing up right here on the screen, and I'm going to pass it back to all of you for just a quick moment, and your challenge is in the comments of everything we talked about, of all 6 steps, and then in between those 6 steps, what's one key thing that you're going to take away and you're going to use, whether it be at your fundraising event or pass on to your students, whatever it may be. What's one key thing that you're going to take away? Put these in the comments, and as a prize, I'm going to randomly pick one person who puts that in there and then give them a gift certificate to be able to donate to a project on Student Launcher. So I'm going to give you just 15 seconds to put your one key takeaway from this webinar in there. Go for it. All right, some great stuff coming in. So I'm gonna, we'll pick one of you afterwards randomly and give you some money to be able to donate to whether it's your project or another project. But then you'll have a special little gift from us. And with that, I thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your Tuesday, because I know that a lot of schools are on break right now and summer's kicking in, and totally understand that. As a thank you, beyond giving a special prize to one of you for your final thought, I also offering up, if anyone posts a project on Student Launcher for any of the things that you are fundraising for now or you're going to be fundraising for, I'm going to automatically give you $15 towards that project so that you can have money right away, and you can get going. And that's just a gift for you taking the time out to continue to develop your own skills. And with that, the website, by the way, is studentlauncher.org. And lastly, this is my contact info. Feel free to reach out to me, give me any more questions that you have, tweet at me, say hi. I respond to everything and anything, almost anything. We'll see how creative you can get. But send me questions if you have it. But with that, I thank you guys for participating. And Marcus, much appreciated for bringing me in and inviting me to be a part of your guys' webinar series in the National Youth Leadership Council. It's great to be here and connected with so many new folks. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Marcus, and then he'll close us out. Thank you, everyone. Woo, 2 thumbs up.
All right, thank you, Tom. Yeah, just wrapping up, I'm sending through right now. Hopefully everyone sees it. It's just a little survey that we put out. If anyone wants to give us feedback about today's presentation, you can just follow that URL, just click the link, and it'll bring you right to the survey for NYLC. It's very helpful. And we will be sending out follow-up emails to everyone who registered for today's presentation. So if you missed anything, if you had any audio problems, or we just want to hear it again, we'll be sending out an email, which will include a link to the recorded version, which we'll be hosting inside the Generator School Network. That's gsn.nylc.org. If you want to sign up right now, let me go. You can sign up ahead of time. Otherwise, in order to watch the video later on, it's a free membership website, it's a project planning website. So it would go perfectly along the lines with doing a project with Student Launcher. But at any rate, we'll be following up with you soon. So thank you again for attending today, and have a good day.